Welcome, everyone, to episode 30 of the Up on the Soapbox podcast. We got a special guest with us today, as always, and I'm sure this is going to be the best episode to date. My name is Brett Schaffer. I'm one of your co-hosts here today. Along with me is my partner and co-host, Dan Pickett. Dan, what's going on with you today?
Hey, man, we're knee deep into my favorite sporting event, which is, of course, March Madness. So I'm kind of licking my wounds, having been in last place for most of the 4 first days of this tournament, but staying optimistic. Anything can happen as we go through it. But no, everything's good.
Good. If it's any consolation, I am riding down towards the bottom myself right now. So misery loves company. But listen, it's our contest, and we can't win anyway. So what does it matter? You know, might as well pick all upsets.
It really doesn't matter. And speaking of which, I happen to have tickets to go see this thing. I'm going to go Friday night to see the Cinderella of all Cinderellas in this year's tournament, the St. Peter's Peacocks from Jersey City, New Jersey. So that should be fun.
Jersey proud. I actually know a few alumni that I've met through the years, so it's a great time to be a peacock, if you will. Oh, by the way, I'm from Jersey. 40 years of my life I spent in North Jersey. I don't know that I've ever seen a wild peacock in all of my years up there. So where does that name come from?
Probably comes from the Turtleback Zoo, I think, in West Orange. They must have one there.
Could be. So let's, without further ado, let's introduce our special guest for today.
Yes.
And
hold on.
That's me. I am your special guest. So Dan, take it away.
This is something we decided to do spur of the moment, and I'm excited. I'm excited to jump into this. So now I kind of shift gears and ask some of the questions, act a little bit more hosty as you normally do. But let's start, if we could, with sort of the way we start most of these things. Let's have our audience get a chance to meet you a little bit and know you a little bit better. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us how you came into the industry. I think most people have a half an idea how you came into the industry, but you know what? Not everybody knows the Brett Schaffer story. So let's start wherever you want to start, but we'll start with how you came into the promotional products industry.
Sure. Well, college prepared me well for the promotional products industry, as probably many of my peers in this industry have similar stories. I got my undergraduate degree at Virginia Tech in urban planning. And then I went to school. I went to grad school at Fairleigh Dickinson University and got my master's in public administration. So as I said, well prepared for the promotional products industry. Was on my own path. I was working in the public sector, managing a paratransit system for elderly and disabled citizens in North Jersey for a few years as the operations manager. And as fate would have it, I had an opportunity to jump into this industry full time with my family's business. As some of you know, I was kind of raised in this business. My oldest memories of my father's work is back in the promo world. He was not originally, but my earliest memories, he worked for a company called Hammond, which was a map publishing company out of Maplewood, New Jersey. I was a little young at the time to actually go to work at that place of employment, but his next job was with a company called Leathersmiths of London, which did dated material and diaries and things of that nature. And often I found myself on weekends going into the warehouse and doing some assembly work and making some cash, which was great at my age. From there, he started a company called Soundline, which is still in existence, which did basically boutique type of promotional items based in music. And worked my way through high school at the dining room table and basement of my house as he built that business. Went to college, and like I said, it kind of set on my own path in the public sector. And a few years after that, there was some opportunity to come into the business full time, and I decided at that point that it was time to sign up and make a career out of it. So that's going back 20 plus years at this point. I figured my mentality at that point was to get into the business, and if it wasn't what I desired, I'd have plenty of time to change course because I was young at the time. I was still just about 30 when I came into this business full time. And here I am, like I said, 20 plus later, as so many of us have found ourselves in this business, and we stay because we love it so much. Once I took that job, we worked together for 12 years. It was a great experience. The economy wasn't necessarily kind to us, and at the same time, I was adding mouths to feed. So I moved along to a company called Points of Light. I was COO over there. That lasted a couple years, and the owner at the time sold to Prime. At that point, I was looking to kind of relocate out of North Jersey because raising a family of 5 in North Jersey is a little bit cost prohibitive. So reached out to my friend Eric over at Jetline, who was looking for somebody to help him with operations. So we packed up and moved down to the Charlotte metro area, and I worked at the Jetline facility in Gaffney, South Carolina, for a couple of years. And what do you know? Prime came along and bought Jetline, and then a couple of years later, Alpha bought Prime. So, I like to refer to myself as the poster child for industry consolidation. And COVID hit, and then I found myself out of work, and Dan and I started talking about the Soapbox concept and put it into action, and that brings everybody up to speed.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. That's all the time we have. No, I'm sorry. I didn't know we were going to get every single stop along the way, but I do appreciate that. Here's the thing. When you say you were working in the private sector and then an opportunity presented itself with Soundline to come back. What was that opportunity? What did Joel, your father, say to you? And what was the need?
Yeah, in a nutshell, they had an opportunity to sell Soundline at that time. And, basically he said, this can be a family business if you're interested. And I took the opportunity to hop on. My wife and I were at a crossroads in our life. I actually had a job offer to move out to the Seattle metro area and run a paratransit system out in that area at the same time where this opportunity came up with Soundline. So I don't know, looking back, it was probably their last ditch effort to keep us rooted there, because they knew that any grandchildren that we had would have been 3,000 miles away, and that might have been a little bit challenging. So, maybe I'm seeing through that a little more clearly these days. But that was the opportunity, and it was a time-based opportunity, and I had a crossroads, and I had to choose which direction to go, and that was really what it came down to. So, as I said, I've tried to shake it before, but here, 20 plus years later, still doing this thing.
So it makes me think of a term. I'm creating a term right now. Promobrat, I think, is a term that I'm creating right now, and I want to see if it sticks within the industry.
It doesn't stick. I've been trying, but it does not stick.
Wait, you came up with Promobrat? I thought I just came up with Promobrat.
Yeah, it's something I try to make stick here for all of us second, third, and fourth generation folks. But hey, you know what? I'm going to keep working it. I'm going to use something that's new to the social media world. It's called a hashtag. You might have heard that. So you may be seeing that in the future. Hashtag promobrat.
Yeah. So can you actually coin a phrase if no one uses it as currency, right? I mean, is it truly a coined phrase if no one uses the term? So
you're getting very literal here, Dan, and
So you're a Jersey boy, obviously, through and through, born and raised. Now you're down in the greater Charlotte area. Talk to us a little bit about your impressions moving south. What has it been, 7 or 8 years you've been down there now?
It'll be 8 years here this summer, so it's time is flying by. Yeah.
What do you miss about Jersey the most?
Certainly I miss some of my friends being close. That's a challenge. Definitely miss some of the food that you get up there. Food is, good quality food doesn't seem to be a priority here. Oops. But it's and by that I mean bagels and pizza specifically. But if you ask my kids, outside of the bagels and pizza and a couple of friends, if you ask them what they miss most, and I happen to agree with them, it's skiing. We can drive a couple hours and be up in the Carolina mountains, but it's a very short season. The mountains aren't so great. And it costs just as much to ski here as it does in Colorado. So it's just that's been a little bit challenging. They always say it's great, you got us all skiing, and then you decide it's time to move us out of the winter weather. But I love being down here. It's interesting. A couple of years before we actually made the move down here, we had looked in the Raleigh area to relocate. So it's been something that was on our radar for quite some time. And just having a work opportunity here with Jetline to actually facilitate that process and give me something to grab onto when I moved down here really just sealed the deal for us. And it was I love Jersey. If I could afford to, live a decent lifestyle up there financially, I probably would have stayed. Jersey's fantastic. For those who don't know, it's not what you see on The Sopranos. It's not what you see at Newark Airport. We lived in the western part of the state where it was probably greener than where we live right now in the Carolinas. It was absolutely beautiful. But it is a little bit challenging raising a family in Jersey financially. So we made the move, and I have no regrets whatsoever. I absolutely love being down here. The weather's temperate. I've never shoveled my driveway in 8 years or used a snowblower. I say this to anybody who'll listen. I've had great moments in my life. Certainly my marriage, the birth of my children, amongst other things. But one of my top days in my life was selling my snowblower on Craigslist for $250 a week before we moved down here. I
So
don't miss that.
So meaningful, really.
It is so meaningful. It really is. So
I-
yeah, Carolina life has been great. I don't know that I'll stay here forever, but I'm certainly planning on staying here until my kids are out of in-state tuition school. So we'll see what happens.
That works out nicely too, doesn't it? So
Mhm.
let's bring it back to the industry just a little bit. People that know you know that you serve in our industry in a volunteer capacity and have done so for most of your career, if not your entire career. Talk to us a little bit about the journey you've taken volunteering in this industry for PPAI, for SAGNY, as former president of that organization, as now you move down to Carolinas, you jump in with the camp organization. Tell us a little bit about that experience and what it's meant for your career.
It's essential. It really is essential. It's a part of my blood. It's part of my lineage, if you will. I was, as many of you know, my father is a consummate volunteer. And even from a kid, I remember him being our pack leader in Cub Scouts and standing on the sideline and doing whatever kind of coaching he could do from a not very athletic man like myself. But he was always there, always volunteering, whatever the case may be. So we set a great example with that. But in my personal experience in volunteering, and within a year of me getting into this industry full time, I stepped up and I was working on the SAGNY Technology Committee. There was technology back in 2001, but that was my foray into the industry volunteer life. But the amount of relationship building you do there, the amount of frontline education you get, learning about the ins and outs of the business, it's a really essential way to kind of build your own personal brand in this industry. And on top of that, the connections you make for life. I still have incredible friends that I've made from day one in SAGNY that I still talk to on a regular basis today. We meet on a social level in so many cases as well. Once I left this, once my SAGNY was done, and that was over 10 years, by the way, so it was quite a long term that I spent with SAGNY. I moved into the PPAI committee world, and where I served on a couple of different committees. That one's a little. It's great. It's great to have the national perspective, but in the committee world, it's harder to form those personal relationships. But I found that the grassroots stuff on the local level, most recently with camp, really helps get you in front of people, meeting new people, understanding the lay of the land. It's just good for you. It's good for business. I highly recommend it. Everybody should spend some time giving back to the community that gives you so much.
So during your tenure, and I'm specifically talking about as president of the SAGNY organization, what can you point to one or two accomplishments, or what during your era, what kind of changes did SAGNY go through, and what was implemented around that time?
Yeah, that was for me. It was interesting. We were dealing with interim executive director, and then towards the end, literally the last month of my term there as president, we went and brought on or made an offer to a full-time executive director. So that was really kind of what I made my mark with. But even times leading up to that, I was very much involved with the Promotions East show and the management of that show. As some of you may remember, it was a SAGNY product for a long time. It got really big, and it became an ominous task for a little volunteer association. So on top of that, we had other market factors that were kind of pinching us a little bit. So we had to turn to outside help, and we had struck up a management deal with PPAI and later promo marketing. So I was managing a lot of that stuff as my time as president as well. So it was definitely challenging. It was rewarding. We had a great board, so my work was minimized by the help of others. So you want to surround yourself by successful people, and I think that's really important. And SAGNY was no exception. We had a great board of people. We all had a very similar vision. We worked together well in the boardroom. We had some really lengthy board meetings, and I don't know if they still do that up there, but man, we had some 6, 7, 8 hour meetings up there. Camp, we got them done in an hour. So it's surprising though, the difference. You would think that, camp would be a little bit more lax on the timing of these meetings, and Saguenay vice versa, because it's in the greater New York area. But you just want to make sure that you're all working towards that common goal, and you want to build consensus. And we had a great time doing that. So nothing but positive experience there.
Very good. Very good. All right. Let's talk something important right now. So obviously we know each other fairly well. You're a music guy. We're going to talk a little bit about me. Really, all I want a name or two. So Brett, for those of you that don't know, likes a genre called jam band music, right? These songs that last anywhere from 7 to 15 minutes long, and they jam out, particularly when you see these people in concert. So give us the name of an unheralded band or two that people who like that sort of thing really should keep their eye on. Who's the up and comers here that we should know? Now, again, most people maybe don't even know this genre so well. So, your up and coming might be somebody's, or whatever. How am I putting that, right? Your standard bearer might be somebody else's up and coming band. So,
sure.
Let us know.
It's funny you say Let Us, because Let Us is one of those bands I was going to mention, who is actually playing here in Charlotte on Friday night this week. They are lumped into the jam category, but if you like funk, old school groove type of music, Let Us is a great band to listen to. So
Lettuce.
Really cool band.
Like the head of lettuce.
Like the head of lettuce. And you forced that on me here, but I wasn't going to go that direction, but you mentioned Let Us. So I did that. Yeah. Okay. Lettuce is great. Couple other up and comers that I like. I'd say a couple weeks ago here, my son and I saw a band called Goose. They're out of Connecticut. They actually just sold out the arena at Mohegan Sun, so they're getting big. That's a pretty big deal. So Goose is another band. In fact, when I went to see them a couple weeks ago, their second set, most jam bands do 2 sets of music, which you don't normally get on the pop side. But the second set of their music, which is an hour and change long, was 4 songs. So that's what happened. I know Dan likes to talk about the length of their songs, and it's not untrue. But it was a 4-song second set. So they're good. And then the guy who seems to be getting most notoriety, who's kind of lumped into the jam scene, although he really lives in the bluegrass world, is a guy called Billy Strings. Highly recommend you listen to Billy Strings. I've seen him a few times. I saw him at a club that basically about 5 years ago. So I'm in a club that holds 100 people, and there were 50 people there. He's an incredibly talented bluegrass musician. I'll actually be seeing him when I go up to that festival that's on the beach in Asbury Park in September. He'll be playing on the stage there as well. So he's another up and comer. I could do this all day.
Yeah,
so I'm not going
to. We're good. We're good with that. I'm cautiously going to ask you what happens during the intermission of a jam band concert. Is that
yeah, beer and bathroom and smoking if you're into that, of all kinds of things. But that's pretty much it. Yeah, usually that's a 15 to 30 minute time frame where I let my ears rest, because as an old guy, my hearing is definitely not what it used to be. So I welcome the intermission. It's needed.
And the last thing I think you're known for in this industry is smoked meats. Is that fair to say?
I'm a rookie compared to some of the smoked meat fellas in this industry.
But you do love it, and you turned me on to something, and I want you to share with both of our listeners about tri-tips. About the tri-tip. This is the sort of where you directed me. So talk about that cut of meat and what makes it so special.
Wow, I didn't do my research on tri-tip, but I might have been. Bill Petrie might have tipped me off to tri-tips as well when I was early on in smoking, because it's an easy way to learn how to smoke. It's quick, it tastes good, it's readily available. At least in some. I shouldn't say readily available, because as I've learned, tri-tips was pretty much a popular Western cut of meat. I don't know why, but I can find it down here. Typically, I have to find it in the Walmart butcher section, which is unusual. I don't typically find that at Publix or Harris Teeter or any of the other local grocery stores. But it's not the best cut of meat in the world, so it's affordable. But basically what you do is you put it on the smoker, you bring it up to a certain internal temperature, I think at 120 off the top of my head. You pull it off the smoker, so it's got that really nice smoke flavor to it. And then you do a process called reverse searing, which has really changed our life here. It's reverse seared. Basically, you take a cast iron skillet, you bring it up to a really high temperature, put some butter, garlic, rosemary in there, and then you throw that steak on there for a minute or two on each side. So you get that nice outside char, which really helps bring that flavor out. And it's fantastic. I try not to eat too much red meat. We're a chicken kind of household. But on occasion, when you want to splurge, you take that, smoke it up. Usually within 2 hours, I got a great piece of smoked tri-tip. It's good stuff. I really like it. But if you're going to go down that smoking rabbit hole, man, I'm telling you, it never ends. And as the weather warms up down here, that smoker's about to get a serious workout.
It's good to hear. All right. So listen, man, the last question I have for you has to do with the soapbox. Did you ever in your wildest dreams, if I would have stopped you 3-4 years ago in the middle of your career and said, you're going to be owning and founding a new business on a whole new concept in the promo space, would you have believed me? Is that something you had, sort of in the back of your mind that you might start a company one day, or was it the furthest thing from your mind, or was it somewhere in between?
Yeah, it was probably the furthest thing from my mind, honestly. But given what's happened to me over the course of the past 8 years, I am delighted to be in this position. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, the mergers and acquisitions thing really beat me up. It really did. So it's nice to kind of be in control of my own destiny right now with you as my partner, of course, Dan, which is working out swimmingly, I might add. No, this wasn't on my radar. I was part of the executive team at a couple major suppliers, and I really felt that was going to be my future. So I wouldn't even consider this a road bump. This is something I'm committed to improving, making better, expanding as we go on. And I honestly would be happy if we just continue to work for ourselves going forward. So no, it was not part of the plan, but I certainly wouldn't change a thing.
Well, perfect.
And you?
And no, exactly. Well, exactly. Say I did have, a small company prior to this, but it wasn't like I had visions of, developing another business or anything, but, circumstances sort of presented themselves, and here we are, and thank goodness we are. And thank goodness I found you and you were available. And here we are with this little love fest here to end your interview. But I listen, it's a cool little thing we're doing. It's working out well. It's improving the bottom lines really for our suppliers and distributors, which is the bottom line for the Soapbox. So no, it's great. It's fun. And I think both of us have agreed. We see a lot of room for growth, which is exciting. So I really just look forward to the whole future of this thing. And anyway, thank you for being such a good sport here and allowing me to interview you today on our 30th episode of Up on the Soapbox. Appreciate it.
It ain't over, Dan. Your turn will come soon. Maybe 40.
Okay.
We'll have to see.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.